Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays offside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Gull'S View. We've got a very special guest with us this week, Mr. Paul Buckle. How are you and what are you working on at the moment?
Good afternoon, good morning from California. Yeah, very well, thank you. Working on a few different things since I started a consultancy a good few years ago. Working in youth football. I was about to say soccer then, but I don't want to upset anyone in the UK. And working with some ownership
Yeah.
groups. And then with a new project actually regarding supplementary training, which is big in the United States for kids who are trying to make it to college, and that will involve trips to England. So that, as well as my ambassador's role at Brentford, got quite a few things going on. So thanks for asking.
You came through the academy at Brentford to start your career. What does Brentford mean to you? How significant was it for you at the time? And how great is it to see their success up to the Premier League?
Well, great question. If it wasn't for Brentford, I don't think I would be where I am today and where I got in my career. I think it was a brilliant place to learn my trade, along with some other kids at the time that have become great friends over all the years. We still get together now. So, it was a brilliant experience, an apprenticeship back in the day where we had to do everything, and it's not a hardship story. I think I wouldn't swap it for the world. I think it taught me a lot about core values, what's important as a young player. With the likes of, see, Colin Lee was my youth coach at the time, and it was like a 36-year-old. I'm not doing Colin a disservice. I think he was about 35, 36, just finished his career and really hungry to go and impress as a coach. And he was fabulous. I mean, he was a brilliant coach, Colin. Fantastic with our youth team. I think we were the first youth team at Brentford, first group of apprentices. And then we had the manager was Steve Perriman and Phil Holder, who both played together at Tottenham. So an incredible experience where we had 2 years to make it. We got great opportunities, which is why I suppose during my career as a coach and as a manager, I gave opportunity to younger players, always have done, always will do, because that opportunity was given to me and some of the other guys, and the 8 of us made it into the first team. So it was a brilliant grounding. I got my first taste of winning. There was a big winning culture at the club, to win what would have been now the League One Championship, to go into the Championship was a fantastic experience. And they showed us how to win. So went on to make nearly 100 appearances for the club. And then that's been recognised over the years. I think getting into the Premier League, I never thought I'd see that, if I'm honest. And it's, Premier League's really big in the States, and obviously with the job Rebecca does, it's a dream come true, really, to see that, and to be involved with the club now is very, very special. Along with all the clubs I've played for, the clubs I've managed, and none more than Torquay United.
Which takes us into the next question. Obviously, the next part of your playing career was Torquay. What was it like moving to Torquay as a player during the mid-90s, and how would you sum up your time as a player there?
It was one of the happiest times of my life. I think I'd been at Brentford probably 7 years. I'd gone through a few managers, and then Dave Webb came in, and Dave Webb had his own ideas, and rightly so, and it was time for me to move on. And I don't know how the opportunity come about, but I was so pleased that I made the move. I'd never been to Torquay. I think I played in the game, the infamous game actually, where John got hurt. John Uzell got really hurt in that game. I played in that game at Plainmoor. I think it was on a Tuesday night, and I was a young player then. So it was the only time I'd really been to Torquay. And it was really good for me because it gave me an opportunity to find myself. I was always, I think when you're a young player at a club, you can always be looked upon as the apprentice and the younger player. And I came to Torquay and I wanted to, attack a bit more. Than the role I'd played at Brentford, so to speak, and Don O'Riordan gave me that freedom. I came down. They were great. Don he knew about me, but he said, I want you to play in a game. It was at Cheltenham away in a reserve game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember Paul Compton took the game. Don wasn't there, and I was gutted because I played really well. And I was like, oh, what do you mean he's not here? And Compton said that he would pass on that message, which he did. I actually went from there straight, drove to Torquay, and I stayed in this little hotel. I won't name it because the lads used to laugh about it, but it weren't the Ritz, that's for sure. And I loved it. I loved it. I was, alongside people like Hathaway, Trollope, Darren Moore. What a team! What a, Chris Curran, Bays. The list goes on. And we trained. The first training session, everyone was in different training kit. No one's in the same stuff, and it looked like a little bit like we looked like a pub team, but we certainly weren't a pub team. And I found that out when we knew exactly what we were doing. I loved it. I loved the area. And yeah, I ended up signing. I think I scored a penalty. It was either on my debut or certainly early on against Doncaster. I took it off Adrian Foster. Fozzie was the penalty taker, and I thought it's an opportunity here now to make a mark. And luckily, I scored. But I loved it at Torquay as a player, just as much as being a manager actually. And I think that's why it always stayed with me. And that sounds a bit cheesy, but the club was in my heart. I played over 100 games, just missed out at Preston in the playoff semi-finals, which, them sort of games I still remember them now. But brilliant memories, fantastic memories, and ended up staying in the West Country for a number of years.
You spoke about Colin Lee's influence on you. When were you first interested in becoming a manager? Was it towards the end of your playing career? Was it always on the cards for you? Was it at your time at Weymouth as a caretaker boss?
Well, yeah, the time at Weymouth sort of just come about. Obviously, Steve left the club, I think after an FA Cup game he played away, and I was captain. I didn't know that was going to come so quickly, but I took it on. I suppose it was a natural progression for me. Steve had let me coach with the team, and Steve he delegated to me a lot. I wasn't actually coach, but I did coach, and yeah, I had no intentions of being a head coach or a manager at all. Literally nothing, because I really enjoyed the role as a youth coach. That was what I loved doing when I was at Exeter. I loved working with the younger ages and into the youth. And yeah, it wasn't until Alex Inglethorpe took over and said, look, I want you to assist me. And then obviously when Alex moved on to Spurs, I then carried on with Paul Tisdale. And it wasn't actually until Colin Lee knocked on my door. We'd lost in the playoff final against Morecambe for Exeter in the conference playoff final, and I was just coming back from an injury. Actually, I only made the bench, so I was sort of player assistant at the time. And he said, "I want you to be the manager of Torquay United." And I don't think I fully took it all in. I wasn't actually aware of the state of the club at that time either. I mean, it certainly wasn't what I'd just been in at Exeter. Established, a really strong squad. Looking like we'd get promoted, which Exeter did obviously the following year. So I thought about it, and then I suppose the relationship I'd had with Colin, which was pretty surreal actually. So to see him again, so being a 16-year-old under Colin, and then seeing him again at I was 36 at the time, was pretty surreal. But I made my mind up. It felt quite natural. I mean, what an opportunity for me to come in an area I knew very well and loved. I was very happy in the area. Knew the league very well. Had the assurance I would get great backing from the consortium, and I can assure you I did. And the fans and the chance to put my own team together, which I only know later in management now, the benefit of that. I mean, it was a huge task at the time to try and sign that many players, but I tell you what, I'd rather do that. And it's no disrespect to any teams I've took, because I've taken over some great teams. It is unique to be able to do that and bring in the staff. And I didn't bring staff in for me. I brought them in for Torquay United. I really did. And I brought players in for Torquay United. And I got a chance to do it, I suppose, how I really felt it should be done. And it was, yeah, I mean, it's the most enjoyable time ever, them 4 years.
You only had about 4 to start with
Yeah,
when you took over? It was only a small group.
I did. It was a small group. See, I think was it Thorpe? Excuse me, the striker that we had at the time that wanted to move on. I mean, I had the meetings with those four players. The goalkeeper Rayner, obviously Mance, Kevin. I believe Kevin was there right at the time. Kevin Hill.
Yeah.
So, but if you've got, and I said this before, and I mean it, because the longer you get to reflect, the more you realise what these people meant at the time and what they mean now. And someone like Mansell, having Mansell in your office, and I said this before, was uplifting. And Colin Lee said, I told you, he was heartbroken what happened to the club, Mansell. I tell you, literally heartbroken in the office. And when I shared, it's quite easy to do it on a board, what I wanted to do, and that I wouldn't be taking any prisoners on this journey. And I felt the same way about the club. I really did. And hopefully that was shown in all of the teams that we had. I thought this is a great starting point with someone like a Mance. And someone like Lee, he carried that flag of what we wanted to be, who we were. He knew the club, and he fought every day. He fought his backside off to get us back into the Football League. So it was a tough time, and I worked very, very hard and like I should to get the squad together quickly. You're talking about they took me after the playoffs, so we were running out of time a little bit. But I think we did a pretty good job in putting that squad together.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about some of the characters we signed in that team. I mean, Chris Hargreaves, Tim Sills, there's such a mix of experienced pros, younger pros, players who hadn't quite worked at their previous clubs. What was the key thing, and how well we heard Tim Sills on there talking about? I think you took him for a bacon sandwich or something like that. But what was how well, like in the West Country, how important was that to you, like getting players down and getting them signed and getting them settled?
That was vital because
Yeah.
you can't commute. Certainly, you're signing the vast majority of the players from London, from Birmingham, up north. So you've got to make them buy in. And I think we've always struggled as a club to sign players. So you either have to give them more money, which generally we haven't got, or you have to give them a longer term. And I sort of went for the longer term. I sort of thought these players, if we do have to move some of the chaps on in the end, which is inevitable if you evolve and certainly if you do well like we did, that they would be of value to the club and they would be in really good shape to move on to another club, which we saw that happen in my 4 years. But it was. I had that experience. I'd come down there myself, so I could tell the story that I was living there. They had children down there with me, so a lot of these guys had kids. I wanted a blend, someone like a Seals and his wife, and his wife was very important and very influential, and rightly so. And I think I had the skill sets at the time to sort of bring them down. I remember saying to Alex, we really did take care of the money, and I said, please just, give me a couple of £100 to bring them down. I can get to know them. I'll know straight away. Where the questions I need to ask, and it will give them an opportunity to show them that I'm a man manager that's there for their family, and that was important. It was really important because a lot of the players, as you said, that hadn't quite done it, like Tim, and I really thought Tim would be a success for us. I really did. If we could get the right style of play, I had to convey that, and I couldn't do that over the phone, so I needed to do that over a couple of days. Paint a picture, and Alex was in on all of it. Alex Rowe, Alex didn't want to be there. All of them were like, no, it's all up you. He sort of said, no, come on, it can't be like that. We've got to make this a bit different, and that's what we did.
Going into your first season as manager, obviously some memorable moments, some memorable football that season. We had an FA Cup run where we played Yeovil on the BBC and absolutely smashed them. The first team in English football to reach 50 goals that season. Do you have any favourite moments from your first season as manager?
Yeah, I think that one stood out to us, and that was made clear in the board meetings that we would really like a cup run because of the money that it would bring in and generate. So I made the players fully aware of that, and it really did show me that we'd recruited well, that we could compete at a high level, and we did. And we didn't start that game particularly well. I think we went 1-0 down. But then once we got the wheels turning in the right direction, they found it very difficult to stop us. And I think I saw that day Playmore come alive. I mean, I think there is no better place than Playmore when the fans so close to the pitch. That a good pitch, always been a really good surface, and we showed what we could do. And it was, in front of the cameras, live on BBC, as you say. And I think then people started to believe, the board, the fans, the players, and as a manager, that's what you're always trying to achieve. So that was a standout moment. I think Oxford was the first year too. I think at the 3-3, I think that was the first year. That was the first time it was like, welcome to management, Paul. Live on the TV, 3-0 down. You're thinking this could get embarrassing for us. Anyway, the players didn't wreck the dressing room. They wrecked the water bottles. Zabrowski did a good job with the water bottles and stuff. And we let them go at each other for about 5 minutes. And they sorted their part out. And then I said what I said. I made some stuff up as I used to, and they bought into it. And I think I was the one that bottled it to not make it 4-3, because the lads, when we got the third, they were running back with the ball to get the fourth, and I was like, I'll take a draw now. So yeah, that stood out in the first year. That was memorable. And I think the last one was beating Exeter at home on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Was it 1-0?
Yeah, 1-0.
Seals. Great goal from Seals. Brilliant goal from Seals. I mean, yeah, I did used to jump off the bench many times and hit my head a few times as well. And I certainly did that day. That was a great day as well.
What was it like? Because we had Jim Proudfoot was a commentator, and a few people. St Answer Sports is so nostalgic for all of us. It was that kind of, not circus, but it really gave such a nice sort of narrative to that whole sort of Blue Sky Bet era. What is it like because it's quite, it's revolutionary, cameras on the walls and dressing rooms. What was that like from like a manager's point of view when you've got all this, new sort of TV footage going on?
Well, Rebecca says that now, Sam. She'll say, they're doing stuff now that they were doing way back. And I think it was a brilliant market. I say, like, to try it, because if you're in the conference, it's not the Premier League, we know that. And it was nice for the chaps and nice for the managers and clubs and fans to have the cameras there. And Forces Santa did a brilliant job of it. And they seemed to be at our place all the time. We were the team. They were building us up all the time. But no, I think it was, and I was very open with them, because I wanted that exposure for us as a club. I wanted that. I didn't see it as a hindrance. I never saw things like that as a hindrance. I always thought it would show that I trusted the players. It would show the players that we've done our work. We're ready. It's okay. Although the only one, I suppose, is half time, because a few of the staff were like, Paul, I'm not sure you want them in at half time, because I could get emotional with the team. It come from a great place, but I really could if I needed to, and I'm not sure I'd have wanted people to see that at times. But it was great.
A bit like the season that's just gone for us. There's a lot of connotations sort of between your first season and our first season, coming in with a new consortium and, pretty much a new football club, having to rebuild from, the bottom up. We fell just short this last season, but we had so many memorable moments. But how did you help the club recover, and what lessons did you learn into the summer that took us into the Football League the following year?
Well, yeah, and I watched the documentary. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I loved watching it. There's a great insight, and you're right. There is some comparisons there with what Paul's doing and with Neil coming in and the consortium, and I've felt very comfortable with that, looking at it, and I listened on BBC Radio Devon to the games, the last regular game and then the playoffs, obviously. So it brought back memories. So definitely similarities there. And I think when I come in, I was supported. I mean, I was backed and supported. And we, said before, the consortium was built with people that really cared for the club. And I think that's what the fans have always wanted. I've seen the power behind that. The fans having involvement as well is massive, and knowing the club, not always having, I shouldn't say outsiders, but you know what I mean, coming in where they don't know the club. It's important that I knew the club. I really did know the football club, and I had a really good idea of how it could work and be sustainable. I mean, that's the other thing. I worked very closely with Ian Eamon at the time, in the board meetings, looking at the finances. I had the budget. We never went over budget. Ian might say different, but he'd be lying. We didn't. And I sold players at the times when we needed to sell players, and I always put the club first, always. And managed around that. And I think we was very aligned. I think we were massively aligned. I don't ever remember going into a board meeting feeling severely under pressure, because I had that support, and I think they knew what the club meant to me. So I think that was a huge help for us at the time in building something together. And I involved them. I didn't keep anything away from them. I think dangers at all clubs are when the manager wants to keep stuff away, or they say, oh, they can't be involved in it. No. Managers are not rocket scientists. I tell you that for nothing. I'm not either. So let's open all the doors up, especially at a club like Torquay, because we've had situations over the years where we've fallen through finance and finances. So I think we was all aligned with that, and that's why it made it a success. And every player that I tried to sign, I tried to explain why I was signing the player, how I thought it would go, contingency if it didn't work out, all of those things really, to try to not waste money.
That's a good point. Going into 2008, 2009 then, obviously you lost the playoffs. What was that summer like? And then also, obviously, we had quite a slow start to 2008, 2009. At that time, were you like, oh, crikey, what is going on here? What did it catch by surprise, or was it like, no, we're always turning it around, don't worry? What was it like for you, those like few months? Because it's quite difficult.
Sam, you're being really kind there. We were terrible. We were terrible. So one thing I love about time is the Torquay fans can forgive me a little bit for that. We were terrible. I mean, look, what a way! If we ever wanted to be tested, the club be tested, the fans be tested. Me, with resilience, it's be beat by your local neighbours when you're ahead and they've not had a shot on goal for well over a game.
My 8th birthday, that was my 8th birthday.
Oh my God, you're killing me, making me feel so old. Yeah, well, it seems like yesterday for me, and it probably seems like yesterday for you.
Or 9, I can't remember that one of them.
It was. Do you know what? I think I was so numb from what happened because, again, I didn't see it coming. I knew my team was tired. We were entitled to be tired with the amount of games we'd played that year and what we'd done. So it was Colin and Alex. We went to the ground, had a drink, a much needed drink. And I want to talk about next season, and just, I think when you're a manager, that's what you got to do. You've got to dust yourself down, whether it's failure, which it was. You were there to win. We're there to be promoted. I wasn't afraid of that. But you got to dust yourself down either way and get on with it.
Yeah.
And but it was hard. It was hard. I won't lie, because even the trophy final, we sort of just, I don't know if we run out of gas, we run out of ideas. I take the blame. I carry the can. That's what you do as a leader. So it was slow. And I keep going to Alex Rowe because we're great friends, Alex. We speak a lot. And I said to him, come on, you must have been close to sacking me. He's, no, it's never in our mind. I was like, so they stuck with me. And then, of course, the Carlisle goal, the brilliant Wayne Carlisle goal away at Cambridge, just turned it.
Yeah.
It turned it. I don't remember even what I said. I don't remember. But it obviously took more time than it should have done. I hadn't gone through that experience as a manager.
Yeah.
And once again, once we got going, we showed in them for you, we could put a run together. So we got through it. I don't know how we got through it. I must have been a nightmare to have been around at that time. It's probably why when I call Kenny Vasey, he never picks up Ken. I called him this morning and say, like, Ken, come on, you must have some memories of the 4 years. So yeah, and then we obviously kicked on when then everything come to plan, and it's proudest day of my life to take us back into the Football League with all them great players and supporters.
Yeah, we had Alex Rowe on last year, and he said the same. He was like, it was never in his mind that he was going to sack you. So,
So he's a good liar then.
it's great, like, but no, I recall that Tim Sills penalty at home to Northwich that I think turned it all around as well. It was like, what was it, 0-0 or something going into
2-1. It was 1-1.
2-1, 2-1.
He claims he
like
scuffed
that,
it as well. He told us he scuffed it.
Scuffed it into the corner, and then we kicked on from there. I think
Yes.
one attribute as well I think we can take was the signings that you did bring in, such as Nicky Rowe. He proved to be a very, very crucial signing for us. Which made us a lot more solid going into that season. Was there a point where you kind of changed the tactics throughout the season? Like it wasn't quite working at the start, then you did a bit of rejigging and then it suddenly found that formula?
Yeah, I think, well, in the second year, bringing Nicky in, you're right. Bringing Nicky in was different to what we had. The conference was dogged league. And I say, look, Chrissy and anyone that I played midfield were different class. I mean, look, it was my style of play to get the ball forward, okay, pick up second balls, get it wide, and let's get crosses in the box. It wasn't anything weird and wonderful. It was a basic style of play. The back four, 6 foot, apart from Kev, but Kev could throw it and had a wand of a left foot. So I suppose we had to evolve. We needed a bit more quality. But I'm to blame for that in a way on reflection, because I wasn't always asking for a lot of quality. Yeah, we wanted quality crosses and runs, and we had that. And that's why we did get to 50 goals before any other team, which we were proud of at the time. But Nicky put his foot on the ball. Nicky could slow things down. He could change the tempo of the game, and he had quality. He had a goal in him. He could create goals, score goals. Nick, my job was to get Nicky on the defensive side, and Nick won't mind me saying that. To make him, I didn't want to change his game and just make him a defensive midfielder, but there was a responsibility in the team against the ball. But yeah, I would put him up against Chrissy in training. I'd just when I'm getting the bibs out, I'd say to Sean, make sure Hargreaves is against Rowe, because when you're training against someone like Hargreaves, he ain't going to give you an inch. And Chris is one of the best signings I made, for on and off the field again. And that was questionable because of his age at the time. But what an athlete, what a leader. And I think Nicky was a great signing with that quality, that class he had. And that pushed me then to move in the direction of, I suppose, that's more type of player. If you look at Gavin Tomlin, if you look at someone like obviously Unan, as we know, and Mate Damon, Kev, we just changed. We sort of gradually changed style of play and went more on that. Once we got into the Football League, we were more, and ended up actually. Nicky was such a great signing. We ended up getting some good money for Nick, and obviously done the good deal with Jake coming in. Which was a brilliant loan signing from Shrewsbury. So it all worked out well in the end with the Nicky Rowe signing. But he did make me look at the game differently as a coach. Because Nicky as well, he used to get the Rowie, as much as Greasy, he just didn't show it as much. But he's saying it, and Sean North would say to me, like, Rowie, look at him, he's miserable as sin, because he wanted us to play more. He wanted us to pass the ball more, and he was right. So we did evolve to that, obviously, in the year when I moved some players on. But he was a brilliant signing.
Just before we go to the incredible playoff campaign, FA Cup run. How I still don't know how we didn't beat Coventry to this day, but how amazing was that FA Cup run, and this beating Blackpool and all stuff like that, and that Coventry game. I mean, how we did ourselves so proud that day. But just that cup run, especially when you're going for promotion again, and also last season we've gone for every cup. You know, because sometimes people can say, "Oh, cup runs are great for the club," but they can add more games and distract. How important was that cup run in that second season again?
Well, that was the balancing act in the end.
Yeah,
And look, other uh, you know, professional players or coaches would say to me, be careful this year because,
mm,
but I couldn't, again, I repeat, we had to have cup runs. And
yeah,
I suppose I managed it better. Maybe I managed it better in the recovery, but the build up to them games were
mm,
fantastic. I loved the FA Cup. I mean, probably I think every club really that I've worked at, I've done well in the cup.
yeah,
I loved the build up. I loved the giant killing of it.
yeah,
I loved working out the opposition because in the FA Cup you always got a week to look at the
yeah,
opposition, um, and I really fancied us. And with the crowd behind us, especially at home, I don't know how we didn't beat Coventry. I mean, the only thing with that was they brought the sub on, and it was mayhem. They brought the sub on that got the header, and I think like that's where we may could have been better. Who was marking him? Who
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, after the game, um, Chris Coleman, I'd done a course with Chris. He
mm,
said to me, "I can't believe that. Really have dodged a bullet there."
yeah.
But they were exciting. I loved them. I loved them cup runs. The board loved them even more. So I become very popular in the boardrooms. I couldn't wait for the board meetings after we'd won the FA Cup. But Ian would still say we've got no money. But that was Ian.
In the playoffs, and of course, Histon at that time, especially at their ground, was they've only lost like once, I think, all season. So
Mm.
there would seem to be a bit of a different mentality as well going into the playoffs, beating Histon and then that away game where we held on for dear life, got into the final. But in the dressing room, it was very calm, it was very collected. Whereas compared to Cambridge earlier in the day, they were all going mad celebrating. And do you think that was sort of a mental advantage for you?
I do, and I think I realised the opportunity was there, and it's probably not always going to be there, you know. And I say that when I took over at Luton, um, Gary Brabham had just missed out, and in the second year he lost his job, So I think they lost out on penalties in the final. So I knew we were a couple of games away. We performed well in the home game. I mean, you're right, we got in at the end with the Burton game, I think it was, but we were in good shape, and then we were very resilient against Histon, which you have to be. Any team that's got John Beck in their dugout, you know what's coming. Very experienced manager, every trick in the book, and the team stood up big time. And Nick, no more than Nicky on that night at home because he got the goal. I think Rowie got the first goal, and so we got that blend of really being tough, which I was always after. And later on, that was something I had to try to put in that team where we really did pass the ball well. And getting them two elements is not always easy to get. But I felt after that game, the 2-0, we were in a good place, but that was hard going there. I mean, they soaked the pitch, drowned the pitch. I mean, I'm an advocate of having a wet pitch, but they drowned it. All the heating on in the dressing rooms, through all of the stuff but I was experienced enough to know that was coming, and I think the players, your likes of your Hargreaves, Benyon, all these players, Silsey, Kev, they've obviously got together as well and said, "This is our time now. We ain't letting this go." Poke in goal was another great signing.
What a save!
Um,
Yeah.
what a save! What a save! Although the whistle did go for a free kick before, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But yeah, heart in mouth times. And look, we're the team to beat, and that's what Paul's going to have now. That's what
Yeah,
Paul's got now. The challenge he has, they're all raising their game every
yeah,
time. So, he's probably looking at the opposition the week before. He might as well say, well, forget that, because they're going to raise their game when they play us. Whether it's at Playmore, which is a great place to come, there's no, pressure on the opposition. And then away, when we take a load of fans, which we still do brilliantly, it's a big game. So, yeah, we got over that hurdle. We watched Cambridge celebrate. I did jump on that a bit. And I thought, right, we're going to go there and we're going to win. I didn't care, actually. I've got to be honest. I mean, I always believed in performance, and I still do. You need performances to have a run in the end of wins, but not on that day. On that day, we had to weather a storm. They was always going to come out the traps. We spoke about that because of the energy, from coming back from 3 down, I think they were after Stevenage. So we let them have that. We actually accepted that. Of course, the commentators don't always know the game that well at times, and they're saying that we weren't the better team. Well, it went to plan actually, I expected Pope to have to make a save in a final of that magnitude, but we waited our time. We waited. We frustrated them. I think Benyon did come of age that day with the way he wound up the centre backs and got one of them sent off. And then Tim staying on the pitch, Greavesy scoring a worldie, well deserved for all them players, and then to see the fans. I mean, it was our time to go up, and then trying to keep us up, trying to keep us in the league was nerve-wracking as well.
I was going to say, what was it like? So it's not almost like gold medal depression, but you've got promoted and you've gone, right, crikey, I've got League Two now. What? Because you had to, as you said earlier, you had to make a lot of difficult decisions with players. What was it like for the club at the time adapting to League Two, being back in the Football League, but right, we've got to stay in it now and build a plan?
Well, it's hard because I wasn't used to losing games as a rule, right? So at Torquay, we'd won a lot and we started to lose, and it was by the odd goal. And I hadn't done this before. I hadn't gone through a situation where I took a team up and then we had to adapt, and and our squad was pretty new. It was like 20 months old, so we're still building a squad anyway. We didn't have season campaigners. We did by the end of the 4 years, but yeah, it was hard. It was really, really tough going away, playing well, being in the game and losing 1-0. And, I haven't looked back on those score lines, but it just seemed like we were getting pipped all the time. Yeah. And again, this is when it's really hard, because I said at the start of this talk is I invested in the players massively and their families, and they invested in me and the club. And then when you've got to release them, or you've got to say, I think, it's time to move on. I mean, thanks a lot, Bucks. Thanks for that. Well, got you up. We've done. But that's the way it is. And I often say, if you want to be liked, get out of management. Because they didn't like me. They respect me, and they do to this day, because they're all coaches and have been there now, and and so they get it. They've seen those faces. They've had to make those same things now, and hopefully they learn some stuff. But I was always honest with them. But that was a heavy lift. To move the players on that I moved on was a risk, a big risk. I don't know if I'd have kept the players. If I'd have kept the players, we might have done even better. But I had to make the call to move the players on. And League Two was better. I think League Two is better than,
there's a bigger gap in those days. I feel like to now there's a bigger gap. Yeah.
So I made them calls. I made them moves. We did then get results. I felt like, and again, I said it before about the fans forum, when the fans, it was packed out and they wanted to know why I was getting rid of our, players that have become legends at the club. But I felt I had to. And again, I needed to be trusted, and it worked out. It certainly worked out, because we started to play a different style. We evolved. I feel like we have really evolved, and we showed that. We become a very good League Two team. We were exciting to watch. We had a youngish crop of players coming in, and actually my plan to bring those players in that were sitting underneath, like all right, Benyon got in earlier, but Lathrope and O'Kane and Key, they were all working really hard over that year before to try to, for us to develop them. So it did work. It did. And the plan in that, and I'll say it, they was on lower wages as well. So when you're looking at the wages, you're looking at the budget, that fitted the club, that fitted the football club. Didn't fit every player, but it fitted the football club. So, and then of course, it was, every season was so enjoyable for me. I'm blessed to manage the club but that last season, I thought we played some incredible football and got some wins, and lost in the final in the end, which was disappointing.
Yeah, just before we kind of move into that part of your campaign, it just referring back to the first season in League Two. Do you think that can you pinpoint a turning point in fortunes? Like, can you just think of anything that steered the tide for us to avoid relegation and then to push on for that fantastic run at the end of the season, which we then were able to carry at the start of the following season?
And breaking the clean sheet record as well. That was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yes, we did. We did. I mean, we the clean sheets were vital. We got them, and then we just had the quality. I think we just had a little bit more quality to go and create and score goals in a high level.
Yeah.
I just think, maybe some of the way we got goals in the conference, you needed to be a little bit better, cuter in the league above. Better defenders, better structures against you. But there wasn't really a standout point. I suppose I kicked on as well. And that fans forum kicked me on because I saw how much it meant again, you see, to the fans. I saw and I think I was driven on fear because I honestly was thinking there's no way we can go down.
Yeah.
But we were close. We were close down there, and I think that the signings. I think I did well in the windows with my contacts that I had and the players that I was able to bring in. I think and the support obviously of my staff, fantastic, and the support I had from the board. We did it, and then it was sort of quite clear for me to see how we could now move on and really establish ourselves in League Two.
Yeah, that 2010-2011 season, there's so many memorable moments of wins at Bradford and getting towards going for your newly promoted 2 years later, you're in the playoffs and then the playoffs against Chesterfield. What was that time near the end like? And obviously the Stevenage game and all that kind of thing. But what was that like last few months like for you from your perspective? You've taken them all the way through. And how did that sort of end up kind of making your decision at the end after the Stevenage game?
Well, yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyable. It was similar to year one where I just couldn't see us losing.
Mm.
And I don't mean that being big-headed, so I just couldn't because we trained well, had a great balance in the team. We were really efficient, set plays for and against. So all the things you'd be looking for during the week, I could see in the team. And then I just, I was like, I don't see us losing these games. And when you get that feeling and you get that momentum, and I've been at the club then a long time, really, as a man in managers' terms. I felt at home. I was made to feel at home at Torquay. I still do now. I mean, I go there now. I'm not going to say my club, but if it's going to be anyone's club, I'm going to say it's mine at times because I've played there so many times and I've managed there so many times. There are so many brilliant times there, and the people don't change. The people are fantastic, and coming into playing, I'm sure all the players would tell you this because them players had some of their best ever times at Torquay. And I hope the new bunch that are there now realise what a great place it is. I'm sure they do. I just felt at home, and when you feel at home and you feel there's a belonging and you've got this team, you really can perform. I could perform as a head coach with this all around me, and I think getting promoted helped me a lot. I mean, I think that just the fans had the trust in me, and then of course nothing lasts forever. And on reflection, I have no regrets. Of course, would I've left the club? No, absolutely. I've not said that before, but it's a fact because it wasn't a great move professionally for me, But then you might have said that when I left Exeter, I could have easily been comfortable and stayed at Exeter.
Yeah.
I had a brand new deal offered me at Exeter right at the 11th hour by Paul Tisdale to stay at Exeter, and I still wanted to come on and take that challenge. So I thoroughly enjoyed every year, the last year especially because some of the performances
Amazing.
and to be able to keep my team in when we played in the second leg against Shrewsbury, just kept them in the dressing room watching, showing them how good they were on the, from the season's play, shows you the trust I had in them.
Yeah.
'Cause they
Unbelievable
were up there.
memories
Yeah,
as well.
because especially
Unbelievable memories.
for that semi-final as well, the second leg, because wasn't it their like 125th anniversary or something as
Yeah,
well? So
something
we
like
went up there and
Yeah.
spoiled their party as well. That couldn't have been easy as well. I mean, it's crazy to think about, really. You know, a little old Torquay United completing in the, in the playoffs in League Two at the time, and punching above our weight to some degree,
incredible.
and going up there, hostile atmosphere, and we rode it out like relatively easily. I mean, I was watching it on Sky at the time, and yeah, at no point did I feel like we were in any danger, which is always a bit nerve-wracking as a Torquay fan because you're kind of brought up to believe that something's around the corner that's going to ruin your afternoon.
Well, you're right, and I think for me, looking back on it, under Don O'Riordan back in the day, we played incredible football. I mean, it's so long ago, I know, but we played brilliant football, and we never worried about the opposition. Don never really worried about them. We just kept the ball so well, and I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to, at some point get back, and we did. I think we played him in the league at Shrewsbury, and it is one of the best performances with the ball that I've had from a team. We literally gave them a clinic with the ball. They didn't touch the ball, and we couldn't score. I don't know if we scored them down. I don't remember the score line, but I thought, wow, we've got a good team here now, and
Mm.
we're a team now that can do something, and we grew in confidence, and we were comfortable that night in the second leg. That started in the dressing room. I didn't want the players out there too early, getting caught up. We had incredible support from you lot behind the goal. And we could have won that game 2-0. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Gav going clean through and just missing, and we looked a really good outfit. And of course, it haunts me. The final haunts me, like all the losses in the finals that I've had. But I've got to be proud. And again, if you'd have said to me at the start of that, Paul, this is how it'll go for 4 years where you take it, I'd have took it all day long, all
Crikey.
day long. Yeah.
100%.
And then
100%.
yeah, yeah, and then obviously leaving, and then Martin coming in. What a great guy! And I know that from
Mm.
Damon.
Yeah.
Damon's obviously my nephew, and we've spoke about that. I knew that he was a perfect fit for the chaps that we had. He gave them autonomy. He was an experienced manager. Just missed out in them playoffs, but I'm proud of
Yeah.
that. I'm really proud of
Mm.
that team, and hopefully now, I'm sure. I love listening to Paul Wotton after in his interviews. I really hope we can do it this season.
Totally agree. Let's talk a bit about like your magic career afterwards. Luton, Bristol Rovers and Luton, obviously just another FA Cup run as well at Luton and the stuff that followed. I've got a question actually about management in general, not so much your career. What's the difference when you're an unproven manager going into a club and then you're one who's had success? Is there a bit of a difference? I've seen a lot of careers where they kind of have that success and then they go up and it don't quite work. But is there a sort of, and is there any advice you pass on to younger managers now as well? Because you could argue I've seen some managers where they've kind of gone, right, this has worked at one club. And now I'm going to try this at another club. It hasn't worked. Or do you reckon that success can almost stop them like learning new ways? Did you find that when you were at Bristol Rovers or Luton that you kind of were like, right, do I do my own sort of way or do I do what I did at Torquay? How does it work from your point of view?
Mm. Well, Bristol Rovers was a case of due diligence, really. I mean, if you're me and I had some offers. The club were very open with me, and teams that had shown an interest. One being my former club, Colchester, and I was tempted because it's another club that I played for, one promotion with, and I think when you've had a promotion or you've done well, you go into that club, or you should go into that club, and everybody can believe in you a bit more because you've had success. I think if you've had it and you can show it on a screen or show it, they go, okay, yeah, well, that can't be fluke. That can't be a fluke, can it? Getting promoted and winning that many games and 200 and over 250 games at Torquay.
Yeah.
I felt now that Bristol Rovers was a natural progression
Yeah.
in my career, but you never know till you go in there
Yeah.
what you're going to find. And I found quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I found a lot I didn't like.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't like it, and I weren't prepared to put up with it.
Hmm.
I wasn't prepared to listen to it, work with it. I wasn't. It's as simple as that. So I expected to be trusted and sometimes and backed and supported. Crucially, with moving players out, moving there's a lot of players that needed to move on,
Yeah.
and I didn't care about being the bad guy or players that have cultivated hero shit. It's part of it, you know.
Yeah.
We'll change this around, and you can come up against it as a manager. At Luton, took over a really good team. I took over a great club, some fan base, pressure there to go up. Um, from a manager that was tired, probably, perhaps just missed out, and they all supported me massively, and we just missed it. We just missed it, and we did very, very well in that first bit where I come in. We did amazingly well. The team, I put Fleetwood in the team, Stuart Fleetwood, that hadn't played at all. I made some changes. Andre Gray, and we ended up obviously beating Wrexham over 2 legs. I think they finished way above us in points in the league. So I was a good fit there, coming in there. Of course, the cup run the next season, and then obviously emigrating to America, which I wasn't planning on at the time, comes into it. It comes into it. But I suppose looking at myself, I made mistakes everywhere, including Torquay, but they're very honest mistakes. And I just always wanted honesty. And it's very difficult sometimes when you're not seeing it or getting it. But I'd taken over a relegated team in Torquay, right? But there's no one in the building.
Yeah.
You take over a relegated team as this. I don't care what anyone says. You take over a relegated team, it's game on. You got a job on your hands.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why you've got relegated.
Yeah.
Okay, you've become serial losers.
Yeah.
And there's reasons, and the job of the manager is to find out what they are.
Yeah.
Find out. A lot of managers are good at playing the game, so to speak, and I just wasn't for me. And I wasn't.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't prepared to lower my standards or my core values because of the time I'd had at Torquay United. So yeah, it's a good question, and I think there is now, like, if I'm mentoring some coaches, and look, you can't all pick and choose. People have got mortgages to pay, they've got kids. You sometimes got to go in, but if you're going to do that, you got to understand the skill sets needed. I think that's the key to it. Sam.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's a really interesting. I've always thought of it from a manager's point of view. It's really interesting. Cheers.
Before we move on to your time in the States, can I just hover back to Bristol Rovers v Torquay? The whole or about the game. Obviously, you had. I know. I'm sorry. I have to bring it up. Obviously, you had. What was it? Clem was alongside you on BBC as well. Was it a bit of a? How challenging was that for you? Because obviously, it was quite early in the season. Were you kind of hoping that our paths would cross a little bit later on, rather than one of the first home games of the season?
Well, it served me right, didn't it? Let's be honest. Served me right. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I thought, oh gosh, I think Rebecca was like, "Can you believe that?" I was like, "Yeah, I can believe that." A lot of great things had happened to me over the 4 years. I can't complain. From a personal standpoint, to come into Torquay to do what we did, because it was a we thing, and get bought, and you guys get some money for me, which you did. Bringing a great manager like Martin, I mean, I was delighted for the club. I could losing the game at the Mem. He was miles better than us, so you should be, because to put the majority of it together, it took time. Martin had added some great parts to it. So yeah, I mean, we got I think we went. I don't know where we went after that. I think we went and bashed Wimbledon on the TV. Played very well. So we sort of, yeah, we didn't perform on the day, and we talking were worthy winners, and I suppose it was football bringing you back down to earth.
It's literally football changes from week to week, though, isn't it? It's just it was a part of it. Also about your time in the United States, actually done various projects, as you were saying at the start. I hear a lot of these days about British players and English players going over, of course, to like to scholarships in Sweden, and a lot now go to the USA. What do you make of like the development of the game from your point of view in USA, and kind of advice of players like looking to come and sort of do football and scholarships in the USA?
Well, the scholarship system, or the collegiate system, is fabulous.
Yeah,
I mean, my son Johnny, my elder son Johnny, who was at Torquay as an apprentice, he
yeah,
came to the States, and he did what's called a soccer and a golf scholarship. And
yeah,
John now is working as a GM in two golf clubs in America. So one, there's a huge opportunity here for players in England that maybe, because it's very hard to make it, it's very
mm,
difficult to get in and make it as a young player. You know, especially the pressure that the managers are under now to win. So 18 to 21, 22 is a worrying time if you've got kids of that age, because it's not easy. And I think what the collegiate system does, it offers a place, a home where you can come and fulfill your footballing dreams, ambitions, but also the academic side of it, which is
yeah,
hugely important. You can come out with a degree. So, and then it's changed in the 12 years that we've been here. So now you have USL, which is the league below MLS. So there's more opportunity to become a professional if you want to follow your dreams and go into that. So there's a tier system. There's like League One. There's a development league, and then there's a championship league in USL. And then of course we have MLS, and we have a draft. So if you're at a top college, you're at D1 college, you'll go into a draft if you've played well in their team. And so there's a lot of opportunity over here. And then obviously we've had the Club World Cup at a higher level. Jury's been out with that. I've done a bit on that actually in talk sport, in trying to educate what it is in America, because it is very, very different, really different here. Games do get stopped for lightning. It is 100 degrees. So there's a lot of challenges for an English player coming out here. I think unless you go to a really big club, um, it's easier to come if you're on your own. I think
yeah,
that's something. If there's anyone listening to this or has aspirations to come out, and I'm willing to help anyone with that, you know, in terms of advice, because it's very different. But it's worked out. And my son Johnny loves the States now, and it's growing. We've got the World Cup coming next next year. But yeah, it's the grassroots levels massive. They have a pay to play model here, so we all pay, including myself, for our kids to go and play football. Um, but it still sits, you know, it's not the number one sport like it is in nearly every other country. So, but it's growing. It's growing at a rate of knots, and there is some good opportunities here.
What was the highest that you coached at American level? Like you were talking about, you know, the MLS and the UCL and all that. What was the highest that you coached at, I suppose?
So I was the head coach and technical director at Sacramento Republic, and they are in the USL Championship. So that's and they're arguably one of the biggest teams, along with Tampa Bay Rowdies and clubs like that. So yeah, I came out here for a couple of years first and sort of learnt the lay of the land. I went back into development, and then I got headhunted and came to California, to Sacramento Republic. Never heard of them. And yeah, with 12,000 crowds every week at home, big deal, real big football community here where we still live. And I managed 3 years of 3 great years, won the league. Over here, there's two conferences, um, East and West, and you then go into playoff finals. So I've done all the playoffs thing. Yeah, and then I didn't really have a aspiration then to go. I did have two or three opportunities to go and work in MLS, but I didn't. It wasn't for me. I just thought I was quite content with what I'd done in the UK as a player and as a coach, and then the years I had at Sacramento, which were incredibly enjoyable. You know, real diversity of player and backgrounds and everything. So I learned a lot. I'd certainly improved as a coach here, because a lot of the players are South American players, and Serbian players and Brazilian players. They'll have the ball anywhere. We'd have been having a heart attack at Torquay if we'd have played like I did at Sacramento, because they literally just rolling it around in the 18-yard box. Could you imagine us doing that in the conference?
Finally, Paul, you are the hero so many of us, in charge of that team, which is a big part of my childhood and got me, so attached to the football club. What would your advice be right now for like Bryn Consortium and Paul Watson going into this season and in the next few years? Obviously, very similar to your time in Wales, as we were saying earlier. But what would your advice be, and how much have you enjoyed watching the last year of Torquay United?
Well, personally, I love following the club.
Yeah.
I'll always follow the club. I mean, always. I love the club. I'm absolutely gutted I couldn't come last New Year's Day to the game. I had other commitments, but I really hope to come to a game. I'd love to come to a game next time I'm in the UK. I think stick together. Look, we just spoke about 4 years there. If the fans hadn't have stuck with me, I don't think I couldn't have, no work. I can't do it on my own. And the players, I've seen enough of Paul Watson. I saw him as a player. He's a really good player, Paul Watson. And Neil Warnock, I mean, he's a serial winner. We know how to win. We've had our disappointments before. We've got them now. Well, we're more than capable of getting out of that league, but we're going to have to stick together. We're going to have to be brave, stick together, respect each other through tough times, just stick in it, because good times are around the corner. And at least then, when the great times come, we can say, well, we only nearly sacked Buckle. We just nearly sacked him. We didn't pull the trigger on him, and have a laugh and enjoy it, because we've got a great club. We have a great club, and I'll be forever grateful to the club for what it gave me as a player and a manager. And I see that in Paul Watson. I see it inwards. So get behind him, right behind him. That's the message.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well,
Brilliant.
Paul Buckle, good luck on the rest of all your stuff out in America and all your sort of consultancy and all that stuff. And thank you again for like all the great times and stuff like that. And I'm glad Alex Rowe didn't sack you. So it's all great. It all worked out in the end, didn't it?
It did. Cheers, chaps. Thank you. Good luck for the season to everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. He stays onside. Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.